There's a strange kind of power in symbols. We're told to read them as strength, as dominance, as inevitability. But sometimes, if you look closely enough, the symbol starts to betray itself. Sometimes the most expensive weapon on the planet doesn't fail in combat or strategy, but in something far more basic. Something so ordinary that its collapse becomes quietly humiliating. What caught my attention here isn't a missile launch or a naval maneuver. It's the fact that aboard the most expensive aircraft carrier ever built, basic sanitation has become a daily emergency. The USS Gerald R, a $13 billion floating monument to American military power, carries around 4,600 sailors. And according to the Navy's own internal documents, many of them can't reliably use a toilet. Let's start with what actually happened, stripped of slogans and patriotic framing. Since its first operational deployment in 2023, the Gerald R has suffered constant failures in its wastewater and sewage system. Not occasional glitches. Daily emergencies. Internal emails obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests describe a ship where, every single day that the full crew is on board, engineers are called to unclog, repair, or reboot parts of the sanitation system. In one 4-day period alone, there were 205 separate failures. Technicians were working up to 19 hours a day just to keep things barely functional. This isn't rumor or political exaggeration. These are the Navy's own words. The ship has requested external technical assistance 42 times since 2023 just to deal with sewage problems. In 2025 alone, before the year was even over, there were 32 formal requests for help from shipyards and outside specialists. 12 of those came after the current deployment began in June, the same deployment that placed the carrier off the coast of Venezuela as the centerpiece of Washington's show of force in the Caribbean. Now, why does this matter beyond the obvious discomfort? Because the Gerald R is not just any ship. It's the lead vessel of an entire new class of aircraft carriers. It was marketed as the future of naval warfare. More efficient, more automated, more advanced. And at the heart of this promise sits a system known as VHT, a vacuum-based collection, holding, and transfer system for wastewater. The idea was borrowed partly from cruise ships and then heavily modified for military use. It uses less water. It saves space. On paper, it looks elegant. In reality, aboard a warship of this scale, it became a trap. The system relies on extremely narrow vacuum pipes running through 10 different zones of the ship. Any improper disposal, paper towels, the wrong type of toilet paper, even a loose valve, can knock out an entire zone at once. And with thousands of mostly young sailors living in close quarters for months on end, those errors are not hypothetical. Engineers report pulling out t-shirts, ropes, commercial paper products, and other debris from the pipes. A single failed valve behind a toilet can instantly shut down bathrooms across an entire section of the carrier. What makes this more troubling is that none of this was unforeseen. As early as 2020, the Government Accountability Office warned that the sanitation system on the Ford-class carriers was undersized and poorly designed for the volume of waste it would have to handle. That warning didn't stop the deployment. It didn't trigger a redesign. Instead, the Navy moved forward and accepted the risk. And now we're seeing the cost of that decision, not in abstract budget overruns, but in daily life on board the ship. Internal messages read less like military correspondence and more like emergency notices in a collapsing apartment building. If you need to use the head, do it now. The system will be shut down for 2 hours. We're searching for a vacuum leak in Zone 6. On what is supposed to be the most advanced warship ever built, going to the bathroom has turned into a race against the clock. If you're still watching, you already care about understanding this conflict beyond the headlines. The timing makes the situation even more revealing. The Gerald R left Norfolk in June and has been at sea for months, operating as the core of a flotilla tasked with enforcing pressure on Venezuela. This deployment is not symbolic. The carrier coordinates with the Coast Guard to intercept tankers linked to Venezuelan oil exports. It represents a fusion of military presence, energy sanctions, and geopolitical signaling. It's the sharp end of a broader strategy aimed at projecting control over the Caribbean. And yet that spearhead depends on a sanitation system that collapses under normal human use. That contradiction is not trivial. It speaks to a deeper issue in how modern military power is designed, approved, and sold. When prestige projects are rushed through political cycles, when innovation is measured in buzzwords rather than resilience, the failures don't show up during press conferences. They show up at sea, months into a deployment, when there's nowhere to hide them. At this point, it's worth asking a harder question. How does a system like this get approved in the first place? The answer lies in a familiar pattern. The Ford-class carriers were conceived during an era obsessed with technological leapfrogging. New reactors, new launch systems, new automation. Each subsystem was optimized individually, but the integration, the way human behavior, scale, and where interact over time, was treated as a secondary concern. The sanitation system was efficient in theory. In practice, it was brittle. The Navy has already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on acid cleanings to dissolve calcium buildup inside the pipes, especially in the lower decks. Each cleaning can only be done in port. Since 2023, the Gerald Ford has undergone at least 10 of these procedures. And still, the failures continue. One internal email from August 2025 captures the exhaustion of the engineering staff almost apologetically. "This is the nature of the system," they wrote. "A closed loop with thousands of components, where failures are constant and cascading." That line matters, because it quietly admits something profound. This isn't a temporary glitch. This is how the system behaves by design. By mid-2025, frustration spilled beyond the ship. A sailor's mother contacted NPR to report unsanitary conditions on board. Around the same time, the ship's executive officer was demanding answers from engineering about the endless breakdowns. The issue could no longer be contained within classified emails and maintenance logs. It had become a public embarrassment. Give us your opinion in the comment box below. When the crew ran out of internal options, they turned to the only shipyard in the world capable of addressing Ford-class systems. Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia, part of Huntington Ingalls Industries. They also leaned on the Navy's own Carrier Program Office, PMS 312. What came back was not reassuring. In a response dated July 24th, the shipyard made its position clear. The best they could offer was a temporary workaround to keep the system marginally functional, until, possibly, a full redesign could be funded in about 10 years. 10 years. That's not a repair timeline. That's an admission of failure deferred into the future. What's uncomfortable here is how familiar this pattern is. A similar vacuum sanitation system was installed on the USS George W. Bush, and in 2013 that carrier experienced the same kind of widespread toilet failures. The lesson was already written down. It simply wasn't acted on. The Ford class repeated the mistake at a larger scale, at a higher cost, and under more political pressure to declare success. This is the point where description turns into judgment almost by itself. When an institution knows a system is flawed, documents the flaw, experiences the failure, and deploys it anyway as a symbol of dominance, the problem is no longer technical. It's cultural. It's about incentives that reward appearance over durability, innovation over reliability, and headlines over consequences. Context matters more than headlines. The Gerald Ford will complete its Caribbean mission and eventually enter maintenance back in Norfolk. On paper, it will be logged as mission capable. Aircraft will have launched. Interceptions will have occurred. The flag will have been shown. But the internal record tells a parallel story, one of exhaustion, constant emergency repairs, and a crew living inside a system that never worked as promised. This analysis doesn't come from an institution. It comes from following the implications where the documents lead. So here's the broader question this leaves us with. If this is how the most expensive ship in the fleet performs under routine human pressure, what does that say about the sustainability of the power it's meant to project? Not just against adversaries, but against time, complexity, and reality itself. Give us your opinion in the comment box below. In the end, this isn't really a story about toilets. It's a story about priorities. $13 billion bought a carrier that can launch jets, intimidate rivals, and dominate headlines. What it didn't guarantee was dignity for the people inside it. The winners here are the contractors who delivered a system on schedule and on paper. The losers are the sailors managing daily life inside a technological Frankenstein that everyone knew was flawed. Historically, empires rarely collapse because they lose a battle. They erode when their symbols of strength stop working in quiet, human ways. The Gerald IV drifting off Venezuela carries that lesson with it, whether anyone wants to acknowledge it or not. This channel has no sponsors and no editorial line. It exists only because part of the audience chooses to support it. If you want to help keep this analysis independent, you'll find the PayPal and Patreon links below. We don't chase breaking news. We analyze consequences. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're tracking the evolution of this story day by day. Make sure to activate notifications and don't miss our next report. And remember, you can now become a channel member. If you believe in this project and want to see it grow, your support makes all the difference. If you'd like to support our channel financially, which we greatly appreciate, you can do so through Patreon and PayPal. The link is in the video description.